Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now May 27th. Today is the actual day of the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series release, with part 1 and part 2 already out on Disney+, with fans now awaiting part 3 and more for, of course, the rest of the Star Wars show. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you also very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, writer Joby Harold and director Deborah Chow have been revealing a lot more about the Kenobi series progressively when it came to part 1 and part 2 specifically, and now they have given fans a preview of what's to come in part 3 of the Kenobi TV series. Now, given that they don't reveal any spoilers specifically away, they are giving fans a little bit of preparation of what to generally expect in part 3 of the Kenobi TV series. Now, in case you guys did not know, the Kenobi TV show consists so far of 6 episodes. Now, a lot of fans actually have been very much, interested in exactly what's happening with other Star Wars projects out there and how it's going to connect to the Kenobi show. Now, in case you guys did not know, Deborah Chow is using the Kenobi series as a foundation to branch out to other Star Wars shows as well. So just keep that in mind. Now, with that being said, we already know that Disney and Lucasfilm are getting very much excited to unveil more Darth Vader, more Obi-Wan, more Leia, and a lot more about the Inquisitors in the upcoming episodes of the actual series. And what Joby and, of course, Deborah were able to do with the preview of the part 3 of the Kenobi series, basically unveiling a little bit more about what to expect in the 3rd chapter. So, with that being said, however, on top of all of this, with both Kenobi Part 1 and 2 now out on Disney+, creators Joby Harold and Deborah Chow recently engaged in an interview where they were able to provide fans a preview for Episode 3 of the Kenobi TV series for the Star Wars fandom. Now, director Deborah Chow recently stated, "So I wanted to provide fans a little preview for Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 3 and what to expect for what I believe is one of the most important chapters that we had worked on without giving too much away. We wanted to set everything up with Vader at the end of Part 2 to really gear things up with what myself and Joby worked on for Chapter 3. In Chapter 3, we are going to humanize Vader a bit. You are going to finally witness the agonizing pain that he has to go through in the series, and what and where his life is at, and like being a prisoner in the suit. We really spent a lot of time with Hayden on making the right choice for the fans. I want to assure the community that Chapter 3 is going to be Vader's episode. We really wanted to pay tribute to this character." Joby Harold eventually stepped in and said, "So, with Chapter 3, to give fans a heads up, we took a lot of inspiration from the Star Wars comics, specifically the ones that released in 2018, which myself and Deborah Chow read through before we began filming this episode. We really wanted to show fans the pain and torture that Vader goes through, and what his relationship is like with the Inquisitors." So let me just stop right here for 1 second of this preview that both Joby and Deborah Chow are giving for the fans. Now, Deborah unveiled that Chapter 3 is going to essentially be Vader's episode in spirit. Now, I don't know if that necessarily means that we're going to have a lot of screen time of Vader per se, because that's really going to be saved for Chapters 5 and 6 toward the end. But when it comes to Chapter 3, it is about humanizing Vader. That's what Deborah Chow says. It's about humanizing Vader in Chapter 3, or Part 3. They're calling it parts right now. So, the thing about humanizing Vader, I think, is probably one of the best ideas that you could go with, because, like they say, they took core elements from the Star Wars comics in 2018 about Darth Vader and how they were able to apply that in Part 3 of the Kenobi series. And if you guys saw the Vader comics, alright, back in 2018, you get to see him being put together like, he's in some kind of car assembly, all of his limbs being attached to his severed parts, all the biomechanical pieces being implanted into his body. This most likely alludes to what we saw in the trailer, the final trailer of the Kenobi series just some weeks ago, where you have the control panel attaching to his abdomen, you have the arm attaching to his severed part, so there's a lot to tell in that, spirit as well. Moving on. So, They go on to say that with the decision that we made with the Grand Inquisitor, this was a necessity to set something up to advance one of the newer characters without going into any spoilers for you guys. Deborah Chow then began to tell fans, with Chapter 3, we really made sure to create these deep ties to Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and you are going to find out exactly what we mean by that when it releases in the coming days. We think that fans are going to be very happy about what is about to be revealed for the series. Building these ties to past films in Part 3 was very challenging and something that really needed to be handled carefully. You are going to see many callbacks to Star Wars Legends and even some of the canon stories that Disney created some years ago that will be applied in the upcoming episode. So let me just stop right here for a second. Now, I find it very interesting that they brought up the Grand Inquisitor situation. This is a very controversial piece, in case you guys did not know. In Part 2, we got to finally witness the apparent death of the Grand Inquisitor by the hands of Reva. If you guys want my take on this, the Grand Inquisitor is not dead. I think it would be a terrible mistake to kind of screw up the canon with Star Wars Rebels, and, you know, especially with, of course, the Clone Wars and all the other animated TV shows as a prime example, you know, moving down the road. But everything related to the Grand Inquisitor's death does not match up with that. And I think that at the end of the day, he's still alive. You know, I really feel that he's still alive. I don't think that they would make such a big mistake like that, but I digress. On top of this, alright, so Deborah Chow continued to say, part of Part 3 we wanted to use some horror themes when applied to Vader. It was a tough process for us, but we made it work. I will never forget that when George was on set with us, he was very pleased with what we did for Vader in the 3rd episode that is going to blow people's minds. Again, it's about tapping into Vader's mind and personal life in a very direct way that we cannot wait to show the fans. Writer Joby Harold stepped in again to state, we hope that this preview of Part 3 really gets the fans prepared for what's to come. The story of Vader, Kenobi, and Leia, as well as Reva, is only going to get more intense. So, about Joby and Deborah, what they had to reveal for Part 3 in this preview, basically showing fans, you know, what to be prepared for. The fact that we are going to have a humanizing segment of Vader, basically showing us exactly what he goes through in his personal life. Again, guys, I think that this really alludes to the leaks that we talked about of how there is going to be a full-on scene where Vader is basically being constructed. You know, all of the medical droids, putting the biomechanical limbs on him, putting the control panel on his abdomen, and everything around that like. So that's the big deal about that, alright? The other thing is that everything related to the intense situation between Reva, Kenobi, and Leia is going to really pick up big time in Part 3, according to Joby and Deborah. So I think that Part 3, it sounds like an improvement. It sounds like that, you know, everything is moving in a better direction. I feel that there were times where they could have picked things up a bit with Part 1 and Part 2, but overall, Part 3 really seems like it's going to have more surprises. So overall, guys, you know, let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.